What a wild year to be a Dallas Mavericks fan. Just a couple months ago, back at the beginning of the year, seemed like everything was completely falling apart. Franchise player gets traded, chance to fire Nico in the street, death threats, security outside of his house. Everything seemed pretty much lost, but then we look now and it's like, wow, the Mavericks are going to get Cooper Flagg. 1.8% chance. How in the world did the Mavericks end up with the number one pick? In my video the other day, I talked about 5 teams that I thought would be a really good fit for Cooper Flagg. The Dallas Mavericks didn't even cross my mind because they were so low in the standings. End up moving up 10 spots, landing number 1 overall. We all know who they're going to take. And is Cooper Flagg going to be a Luka replacement as far as level of fame, level of impact for the franchise? I don't know. That's a long shot. But Cooper Flagg is also a generational prospect. And I know that if I was a Dallas Mavericks fan, this wouldn't make me feel better about the situation per se, because what would be going through my mind would be, what if this happened and we had Luka? But I think we all know that if Luka didn't get traded, this probably wouldn't have been possible. And so given all the circumstances, what's happened in the last 4 or 5 months, this is a decent consolation prize. And I think Cooper Flagg's going to be a great player. So today we're going to look at some clips of Cooper Flagg, and we're going to talk about the impact that I think he's going to be able to make for the Dallas Mavericks. Paired along with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. Pretty interesting trio, and I'm going to show you their full roster, what it's looking like going into next season. And the roster looks pretty good on paper. I don't know if it's a championship team, anything like that. But Nico Harrison, has looked pretty bad for a couple months. And this makes him look a little better, because when we look at how they're projected to be going into next season, I don't think it's crazy that Dallas could be a top 5 team in the West. Some people may disagree, but I truly believe that's possible. I think overall the impact that Cooper Flagg is going to make is going to be pretty well-rounded, because that's just the kind of player he is. He's a great defender. That's something I'm really excited to see, is Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis together defensively. I think that Anthony Davis, we all know, fantastic defender, can hold down the paint, can move his feet really well, switch out when he needs to. But Cooper Flagg is going to be a guy that, he's going to be able to guard the other team's best player in a lot of situations. And he's going to be able to funnel traffic right to AD. And if someone takes the ball into the paint, AD's there to jump up and contest it. Cooper Flagg has the opportunity to come down and help. We've seen it a million times at Duke, and we saw it even more in high school, where this dude will send shots. If you think that you're safe, you don't see Cooper Flagg, that doesn't mean he's not going to get there. Really long arms, super athletic, and the biggest thing that I see out of him defensively is just his vision. He's almost like a point guard on the defensive end of the floor, where he will see you coming. He knows where his shot blocker on his team's going to be to come cut you off, and he's going to take an angle, get there, and send your shot 9 rows into the crowd. You never even saw him coming. And so to me, that's really, really exciting, thinking about the defensive end with him and Anthony Davis. I also believe that his rebound will be a really big addition to Dallas. This is a team that already has a ton of size. And, when I speak on Anthony Davis on the defensive end of the floor, didn't even mention Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, who are both really good centers. Derek Lively's an incredible shot blocker, also from Duke. And so, to me, with all that size, PJ Washington as well, Olivier Maxence Prosper, I'm very excited about this team on how they'll be able to guard and how they'll be able to prevent other teams from getting into the lane. Because although Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson are not incredible defenders, honestly, at this point, Kyrie coming off the injury, Klay at the age he's at, they're probably more on the negative side as far as their own individual defense. But does it really matter if those guys are hitting shots and on defense they're just able to funnel guys inside and say, okay, you got by me, that's fine. We have Derek Lively sitting right there. Or you got to switch, okay, that's fine. Now Cooper Flagg is guarding you. And if you happen to get by Cooper Flagg, which is going to be tough, well, Anthony Davis is behind him. Lively's behind him. Gafford's behind him. PJ Washington is also ready to switch on to you. I mean, it's tough. They're going to make it really tough on teams. And I think that we've seen, from teams like Boston, that having a lot of size like that can be very beneficial. Boston, obviously, a lot of their size is more in their wings, where Dallas, it's more with their bigs in their 4 and 5 position. But that's something that's exciting to me about Cooper Flagg, is I think he could play the 4. And I spoke about this in the video the other day. He could also play the 3. So the lineup combinations you're going to have at the 3, 4, 5, depending on what kind of look you want to throw out there, where it's like, okay, right now we're going to put Flagg at the 3, and we want to go a little small, so we're going to put AD at the 5, and we're going to put PJ Washington at the 4. That's a completely different look than if you want to go, okay, we'll put Flagg at the 3, AD at the 4, Lively at the 5, and then we're going to just lock up the paint on defense. And I think that's a really exciting thing about the Mavericks roster going into next year, is there's a lot of different combos that I see. And that's including the guards. I think that adding Max Christie in the Luka trade was kind of overshadowed, obviously, by the Luka side of things. But Max Christie's showed a lot of potential. Jaden Hardy's another dude that they got out of G League Ignite a couple years ago. I've always been a big Jaden Hardy fan, and I'm still not giving up hope that that guy could be something. I believe he's like 22 years old, 21 years old at this point. So when you look at Christie, you look at Hardy, 2 exciting young prospects in your backcourt, and then you look at all of that depth in your front court, all of the different lineups you can throw out there, where Flagg can play a bunch of different positions, kind of the same way you can use PJ Washington, where PJ can play the 4, he can play the 3. I think that him and Flagg are both in a similar spot there, where you could plug either of them in at either spot. And that also gives you flexibility for if that Anthony Davis injury happens, which we know normally is going to happen on any given season, you have options where, okay, AD's out for a couple weeks, well, we're just going to rotate Flagg and PJ at the 4, play our 2 true big guys down there, and then we're going to run these guards, and we're going to let Kyrie cook, we're going to let Clay shoot. Spencer Dinwiddie's a free agent, which I think at the end of the day probably only helps your team, because Spencer Dinwiddie is a bum, respectfully. And so, Dinwiddie gone, the 2 young guards, Kyrie hopefully back and healthy, and hopefully still able to move and get his shots off the way he did pre-injury. This is an exciting group. And when I think about the future of this team, everything that I'm talking about is for the now. How will Flagg impact the team as a rookie? But when we go forward into year 2, year 3, year 6, year 7 of his career, we have no idea how good this dude is going to end up being on offense. I think we know how good he's going to be on defense because he's shown it consistently, and I don't expect there to be much of a drop-off. I think he could even get better on the defensive end of the floor. But offensively, he's shown some stuff. I mean, dude's a beast going to the rim. He's got touch. The mid-range at times looks smooth. The 3-ball was something that he improved on a lot over his rookie season at Duke. If that jumper gets consistent, we are talking about a potential monster, absolute monster in Cooper Flagg. And so to me, whatever ends up happening these next couple years with the AD and Kyrie era of the Mavericks, the future is bright. Because Cooper Flagg could be that centerpiece that you end up building your team around. I would say he most likely will be. And all of the concerns that were had about Luka caring, about Luka's competitiveness and willingness to want to do what it takes to win, I don't think you're ever going to have those concerns with Flagg. Luka was always a guy that cared a lot about his stats, and the way Luka got glory and made himself feel good about his performance was he wanted to punish you individually when you guarded him. He wanted to hit the step back 3 in your face. He wanted to go downhill and hit a crazy shot on you. He wanted to hit you with those stupid moves where he would stop and twist and turn and hit some crazy shot off the glass. That's how Luka felt good. That's how he, experienced success. And it never felt like Luka was really that upset when they lost in the finals. Cooper Flagg, he wants to win maybe more than anyone. You watch him at Duke, this guy is a true competitor. He hates to lose, absolutely hates to lose. And I like that he's going to bring that energy. And if you see the way he was at Duke, he was a leader. As a true freshman who should have been a senior in high school because he reclassified, he was a leader. And he inspired his teammates to want to try. And at the end of the day, Cooper Flagg could have treated that season the same way Marvin Bagley did his freshman year at Duke, because Bagley was just worried about getting the numbers, and the overall success of the team never seemed like it was at the front of his mind. Cooper Flagg didn't care. There were so many games where it was like, man, Cooper Flagg only shot 9 times this game, where he definitely could have come in as the consensus number 1 player in the country coming out of high school, who every team in the country would have loved to have on their team. He very easily could have come in to any school, but even Duke, and said, I'm taking all the shots, and you guys can just play off of me, and we're going to figure it out. And if we make it to the tournament and lose in the second round, I'm still going to be the number 1 overall pick. But you could tell that's not how Flagg was wired. When Duke lost in the Final Four, he was devastated. Absolutely devastated. You could see it every single time they lost the whole season. He was devastated because he put that on himself. He wanted to win more than he wanted stats, more than he wanted any kind of fame or recognition, because he knew that his play would speak for itself. And I love that. I love that that's the way he's wired. As a 17, 18-year-old coming out of Duke, I mean, it's impressive. It's very impressive. And when we look at the best players in the NBA, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, they're all blessed with talent, but more than anything, they have work ethic. They have drive, and they want to kill you. They want to go out there and kill you. And I think Cooper Flagg wants to kill people on the court. I think he wants to go out there and punish people, and not just on the offensive end of the floor. He wants to punish people defensively too. He takes pride in his play. He takes pride in being a good teammate, and he takes pride in winning basketball games. And if you have a young guy that's the number 1 pick that comes in that isn't just worried about his own stats and becoming a superstar, he's just worried about helping the team and becoming a better player, the best player he can possibly be to help that team win, it's a pretty good spot to be in. So post Kyrie and post Anthony Davis, I think that's the guy that they're going to build the team around. And I think this is pretty exciting for the Mavericks, that in the short term, they do have championship hopes. I don't know how realistic those are going to be going into next year. When, it's playoff time. Is Kyrie healthy? Is AD healthy? We're just going to have to see. But it doesn't really matter now, does it? Whether they get a championship out of these next 3 years, because with Cooper Flagg, the window's open, that you might have a chance to win a championship any given year for the next 10 to 15 seasons, which is crazy. We never know in the NBA what's going to happen. Nobody expected Luka to be gone, so we can't sit here and say with certainty that 10, 12 years from now, Cooper Flagg will be on the Mavericks. We have no idea. But for now, pretty exciting for that fan base. And although Nico Harrison is an idiot, you do have to kind of feel good for them. And speaking of Nico Harrison, I've seen a lot of stuff since the lottery where a lot of people have had questions of what just happened. Like, is this just pure luck? Was Nico a genius in tanking? Did he know? First of all, the theory about him thinking that this could possibly happen when he traded Luka is absolutely insane. There is no way that he knew, if we tank after we trade Luka, we drop out of the play-in, we end up having the 11th overall odds to get the number 1 overall pick, and we land it, then we'll have Cooper Flagg and we'll replace Luka. There's no way. The conspiracy side of things, it is interesting to me, because everyone remembers back earlier in the season, especially around the Christmas Day stuff, there was a lot of chatter about the numbers in the viewership in the NBA, where it was like, NBA is kind of dipping. What's the problem? Who's going to be the next face of the league? Why are people not watching? And I think for all of us who are committed NBA fans, that wasn't really something that affected how much we watch, because whatever's going on, the NBA is fun to watch. But for the casual fan, for whatever reason, people were starting to lose interest. The old guys that we have watched play for over a decade are all fading out. So then here we go with the conspiracy that Adam Silver promised the Dallas Mavericks the number 1 pick, despite their low odds, if they would trade Luka and end up getting into the lottery. Getting Luka to LA brings a lot of interest to the league, It's probably the most talked about trade of all time. Everyone had opinions on it. Everybody, people that you know that don't even watch the NBA, had an opinion on why Luka Doncic got traded and what it means for both teams, how stupid the Mavericks are, how great this is going to make the Lakers. Everybody had an opinion on it, and that stirred up a lot of conversation around the NBA and definitely helped with the viewership numbers. And so some people are saying, did Adam Silver and Nico Harrison work together to plan this? Say, hey, let's get Luka out of Dallas. We know you have problems with him staying in shape and concerns about how that's going to play out long term. Will you trade him to LA, get us a megastar young guy that can take over after LeBron retires on our league's biggest team for numbers, and then we'll give you the number 1 pick, and you can have Cooper Flagg, and you might be able to go ahead and win without Luka Doncic. I think it's crazy. I don't think it's true. But maybe it's not that crazy. I mean, it's not that far-fetched, and there's a lot of stuff around the Patrick Ewing draft with the Knicks where a lot of people believe that the NBA rigged that to give the Knicks a high-level talent to bring interest to that franchise in one of the league's premier markets. So is it that crazy that the same thing could have happened now with Luka and the Lakers? I don't know. Not that crazy. But at the end of the day, I don't think I'm bought into that. I think the Mavs just got very, very lucky. So to me, the story long-term is going to be, who wins this trade? Is Nico going to look stupid? And is Luka going to win championships on the Lakers? Nothing comes out of this run with Anthony Davis and Kyrie, and the Mavs are all of a sudden in a rebuild around Cooper Flagg. It's possible. Or is the fat guy Luka stuff that has also been discussed and seems like the main reason why Nico Harrison was ready to give up on him, is that going to end up prevailing here? Is Luka's inability to stay in shape and lack of care, is that going to end up haunting him where he's not able to win any championships with the Lakers and the Mavs end up looking good? That's something that only time will tell us. So in conclusion, what's going to happen here? Are the Mavericks all going to end up in the hospital looking like old guys with broken bones and torn ACLs and ruptured Achilles? It's possible. But could Cooper Flagg be the spark that they need to get them to a championship? It's also possible. So go ahead and drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. How shocked were you when you saw that the Mavericks got the number 1 overall pick? How do you think it's going to affect the franchise in the short term and the long term? And do you think they'll end up getting a championship out of this current era of the roster? Because I know that I'm very interested to see. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you like the content here. It's going to be a lot more coming soon. Currently working on a pretty exciting video that's going to be dropping in the next day or two, focused around Giannis trade possibilities. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe. Come back and check that video out when it drops. Been putting a lot of work into that one. So this is Hoop Chronicles, episode number 4 in the books.
They got it right the first time.